seconds for doing that, and then we will start. All right, so let's start. L4MS, Smart Logistics for Manufacturing. In our project, we are dealing with basically two things. We are developing technologies to support the automation of in-factory logistics. And more concretely, what we want to do is to support SMEs and mid-caps in implementing automated guided vehicles in their factories for doing so. Automated guided vehicles will be abbreviated from now on during this presentation as AGVs. So whenever you find the term AGV, you should know that we are talking about automated guided vehicles. In the picture here on your right, you can see an example of an automated guided vehicle. As you can see, it's a small device that can be used for material handling inside a factory. So, having presented you the main issues we are dealing with, I would like to start explaining the L4MS project. And the first thing I would like to address is, why are we working on this project? Well, we are working on this project basically because of two reasons. The first one is because we want to help SME and mid-caps in implementing new and smarter intra-factory logistics solutions. We know that for SMEs and mid-caps, it's rather costly to implement AGVs, but we also know that the implementation of these kind of systems can really help them in improving their efficiency. And that is why the technology that we are developing will reduce drastically the installation cost of this type of devices. Not only that, it will also help the implementation time and decrease it by a factor of about 10. How are we going to achieve this? Well, there are two core technologies we are developing in this project. The first one is a marketplace, and the second one is an IoT platform. If you don't know what an IoT platform is, don't worry, I will explain it later in a very simple way. So the marketplace is an online site where two sides of the market, I'm talking about manufacturing SMEs interested in integrating AGVs and automating their logistics, can get in contact with the offer side of the market. And that would be companies that are offering integration of systems, or that are also offering technologies like, for example, AGVs for doing so. On the other hand, the marketplace will also allow to access funding for implementing these kind of solutions, and also to get trainings for different layers of the organization. Through this marketplace that we are developing, manufacturing SMEs will also be able to co-create solutions of their automated logistics. In other words, they will also get support for designing how the automated logistics system should look like. The marketplace is something we are still working on, and it will, although we already have the website alive, it will take about 6 months still before it is really in operation. And that is why in this presentation, and as the open call as well, is going to focus mainly on OPIL. OPIL is the name that we have given to the IoT platform that we are developing. So let's focus now on OPIL. OPIL is an IoT platform that is specialized in supporting the automation of logistics. The idea of OPIL, is to enable the communication between different types of IT systems in your factory, and also the communication of the IT system with different devices, like, for example, AGVs, or maybe wearables that you might have. This OPIL system also has an interface with a state-of-the-art factory simulation software. We are working with a software called Visual Components, which has proven to be very successful in simulating factories. OPIL will also allow, in a very simple way, to test digitally your logistic solutions, and also to see whether which type of production control strategies might fit the best your plant. The interesting thing about OPIL is that it is the core technology, as you will see later, that will help drastically reduce the overhead cost of AGV installation, making the implementation of AGVs attractive for SMEs and for midcaps. And one of the main goals of this type of system is to support companies in increasing the flexibility of modifying and adjusting their logistics system. So, which are the problems then that we are aiming at solving? We're aiming at solving 5 problems. The first one is what we call the productivity challenge. As you might know, up to 50% of the operational cost of a factory goes into logistics. If logistics can be fully or partly automated, you can increase your efficiency, and by doing that, also decrease your operational cost. The second challenge that we are addressing is the flexibility challenge. As factories are required to become much more flexible, or our OPIL system will help them in redesigning and resetting the current design of the logistics system. Besides that, it will also make it very easy to incorporate track and trace functionality. The third challenge would be the skills and competence challenge. In our project, we are developing different types of trainings to help and to support different layers of industrial organizations in understanding and also knowing how to configure an automated logistics system. We are targeting directors of companies, engineers, but also supporting eventually the operators that will deal with the systems. The fourth challenge is safety. It is proven that the integration of automated logistics, like for example AGVs, can increase in an important percentage the safety of your factory. And then finally, a very important challenge, and that is the investment challenge. And we are very aware that SMEs and midcaps have challenges when it comes to finding the right investment for implementing this kind of systems. And the interesting thing of the technology and the project that we are working on is that by using this, you can reduce up to 10 times the implementation cost of logistics systems, but you can also reduce up to 9 times the time required for implementing and testing it. So these are 5 good reasons for considering using the technologies that we are developing. Before we continue, I would like to very quickly introduce you what is the idea of industrial IoT. Some of you might know it, but in our experience, there's some people that do not know it, and having this concept clear will help understanding also the role of OPIL in this project and in the automation of the logistics system. So the basic concept is the following. If we consider the classic way of operating factories, what we will see is that we have things like, for example, an AGV or other kind of devices in your factory. In this case, we're focusing on material handling and wearables. And these things, they send signals to humans. Humans, like, for example, operators, use these signals to steer the manufacturing processes, and they get information from them that they can use to, again, determine how to steer their material handling systems. In the embedded logic, things change a bit. Instead of dealing with things, we are dealing with smart things. And in this case, smart things are integrated with controlling devices that are connected to the processes. These processes provide information which can be used to support, again, the operation of the material handling system. And now, in this new era, we're moving one step forward into the cyber-physical system. And in this case, we're connecting all of these devices through a gateway to an IoT cloud, allowing all of them to get interconnected, and by doing that, to expand the functionalities and to ease the way of controlling them. So if we take now a more detailed view at the traditional industrial IoT structure, what we see is that it is very hierarchical. I think that most of you will recognize this pyramid, right? And what we see is that there are several different types of systems that are exchanging information with themselves. What we also see is that in the traditional way, the way that data is exchanged is in a layer-by-layer fashion. So one layer exchanges information with another, for example, PLCs with SCADAs, which exchange information, for example, with MS, which exchanges information with an ERP. And then the data can, again, be exchanged from the top down. So what happens when we implement an IoT, industrial IoT system through the integration of an IoT platform? Well, what we see is that this industrial IoT structure breaks down. And instead of having a layered way of communicating one system with the other, now we have a centralized, decentralized way of exchanging information. In this case, the IoT platform allows to connect different IT systems in devices and allows them also to speak to each other. By doing so, it becomes much more easy and flexible to have two different systems exchanging information with themselves. And by doing so, you can also easy the way that you're managing your factory. For example, an AGV can send through the IoT platform information to a wearable indicating where it is located at a certain moment of time without having to go through the whole pyramid that I just mentioned you before. And mentioning this, we can drop down to the concept of OPIL. So OPIL is an open IoT platform that is targeting different type of functionalities that are required for automating your logistics system. And by doing so, create this kind of functionality regarding the logistics systems for your factory. Let's take now a deeper view at what OPIL is. A deeper view without entering in too many technical details. Well, OPIL is a platform, as I mentioned you before, and it has different connectors for connecting different type of IT system and devices in your factory. The interesting thing about OPIL as well is that it has customized functionality for steering your AGV's systems. We have a module, for example, we call sensing and perception that can help you in implementing track and trace functionality. We have a human-machine interaction module that can help you in setting up monitoring cockpits for your logistics system. But also we have a task planner module that can help you in developing the schedules that AGVs will have to follow, also in determining which might be the best routes that it can follow. So this is OPIL. But what makes it interesting? It makes it interesting that you can easily connect your enterprise applications to it. And having your enterprise applications, like for example, a MES system, providing the right data to, for example, the task planning module of OPIL. This can be used again to connect it directly to the devices that you have in your factory. For example, an AGV or a wearable device. So the task planner can directly steer your AGV, and the sensing and perception module can communicate with your wearable to determine, for example, the position of a AGV at a certain point, or to help you changing the tasks that have been assigned to your AGV in a certain moment of time. And then lastly, our OPIL platform also incorporates the integration with a simulation software, as I mentioned you before. And it is actually the integration of the simulation software with the IoT platform which enables the digital twin functionality that is being mentioned so often nowadays. By doing that, we can have, for example, a MES system providing a number of tasks for an AGV. The task planning can create the schedule, and then the schedule can be simulated in your simulation software before having to actually implement it and test it physically. So, in a nutshell, this is the main idea of OPIL. And the idea of OPIL, actually the level of development, is that this kind of IT applications and devices can be very easily, with a very low overhead, connected to OPIL and enable the communication that is so handy at the moment of implementing a logistics system. Using OPIL. Well, basically, OPIL can be used for two extreme scenarios and all the scenarios that you can think in between. The first scenario is what we call for the planning phase. The planning phase is when you are considering and studying how are you going to implement your AGV systems, all right? So during the planning phase, you can use OPIL to make simulations, to design the layout of your material handling, to create the right routes, and also to set up the right schedules. But we can also use OPIL during the execution phase. As you can see in the figure on your right, during the planning phase, we connect OPIL with our digital twin to test in a digital environment how the system would work. On the other hand, during the execution phase, we use OPIL to actually steer the different devices that are structuring your logistics system. So in this case, we can directly connect the devices and make sure that, for example, tasks that has been provided by the MES system through the task planning module can steer your AGVs and so forth. As we can support these two types of phases, and as the system is also very, it enables easy communication between all of these applications and devices. Using OPIL can actually enable you in the continuous adaptation and reconfiguration of your logistics system. So whenever there are important changes in your factory, with OPIL, you will have at a very low overhead the possibility to redesign your logistics system, test it, and implement it all over again. This makes much more flexible the usage of this kind of automated logistics systems. So, which are the main consequences? Which are the main effects that OPIL could have for your factory? Well, there are many, but there are three I would like to focus on. The first one being interoperability. This is a word that has been on the podium already for some time in the context of Industry 4.0. Interesting is to know what it actually means. In this context, it means that the interfaces that in this case OPIL provides enables communication between enterprise applications, factory equipment, and software solutions in a very easy way. So this is the thing that I have been also pointing out during this presentation. Secondly, interoperability allows you to have a minimum effort for connecting new devices to your logistics system. So if you would add a new AGV system to your factory, having OPIL, that would be something that would be done with a much lower effort than using the traditional way of implementing logistics. And then finally, OPIL will also helps in supporting planning the right routines to simulate them in testing in virtual environments, meaning that you can virtually design and understand exactly how your factory will work before having to implement physically your solution. So these are the three main effects that OPIL has in terms of practical implementation in a factory. So let's take a look at an example to illustrate a bit better what OPIL could mean. There are many other possible examples, but this kind of illustrates the core functionality of it, all right? So let's suppose during the planning phase that your ERP system produces a list of production tasks. Well, these production tasks are sent to the planning software in OPIL. And the planning software in OPIL would produce AGV schedules for your factory. These AGV schedules then can be sent to the digital twin, to the simulation software, to determine how they actually work and what is their efficiency. Once that you are happy with the solutions that you have obtained, then you can move to the execution phase. In the execution phase, then we're not longer going to work with the simulation software, the digital twin. In this case, what we do is that we connect for example, AGV and a wearable. In this case, the AGV is one AGV that you're using for moving material in your factory, and you have a wearable that is used for tracking which is the task that the AGV is actually doing at a given moment of time. Well, in this case, once that wearables and track and trace are also connected, the task planning software of OPIL will steer the AGVs and the routines that they have to follow. And they will also, through a monitoring interface, allow the humans that have the wearables know what is going on with the AGV at a certain moment of time. Now, I hope that at this moment it's kind of clear what OPIL is, what is the IoT platform that we are developing, and what is the effect that it has on your factory. Just to recall again, it reduces the overhead and it makes it much more easier to create a system that can manage logistics in a flexible way. But this presentation is also about the open call. And the open call is a mechanism that we have available for providing funding to SMEs and mid-caps that are interested in implementing a logistic solution in their factory, all right? So let's take a look at the main concept. And I would like to do that by first addressing the objectives that we have in our project L4MS in providing the funding for creating this kind of projects. So we have basically three types of objectives. The first objective that we have is that we want to have several pilots to show the industry which are the benefits of implementing this type of technology. We want also these pilots to help us demonstrate that actually OPIL will drastically reduce the resources required for implementing a automated logistics solution, like, for example, implementing AGVs in your factory. The second objective regards OPIL. We want to show different examples that demonstrate the functionality of OPIL. We want to address the different issues that can be done, that can be targeted with OPIL. We also want to improve, based on user experience, the current state of this IoT platform. And we also would like to see whether there's other functionality that should be incorporated in OPIL. And then finally, the third objective that we have is to show that you can use simulation software, and in this case, as it is integrated with the IoT platform, we will call it digital twin, for designing your automated logistics system and also for helping reducing the overhead that is usually required for implementing these kind of systems. So now that you know why we are coming up with this open call, I would like to tell you more about what are we offering to companies that are interested in submitting a proposal for a project in our open call. So basically we have 5 types of things that we are offering. The first thing we are offering, and is also one of the most important things, is funding. Funding and also the possibility to perform tests. We have a scheme in which consortiums that are applying for funding can get up to 250,000 euros equity-free loans for implementing a pilot project that is dealing with automated logistics. We also have several testing facilities that can be used to eventually test some of this functionality. And the third thing that we are offering are channels to venture capital to eventually upscale the solution that has been designed in the pilot project. The second thing that we are offering you is support for designing your AGV solution, support for creating the right business case, and also support for digitalizing your logistic chain. It is not only about AGV, it is also about seeing how can you use monitoring devices, track and trace, and wearables to fully automate your intra-factory logistics system. The third thing that we are also offering is digital twin integration. So we can support you in creating factory simulations that can be used for evaluating AGV solutions and that can also be used to test production control rules. The fourth thing that we are offering is OPIL integration. And in this case, as I have already mentioned before, OPIL will enable the connection of AGV, census, people, ERP, and MES. It will make your automated logistics system much more flexible, and that will make it also easy to change the configuration of your logistics system and to incorporate a functionality like, for example, track and trace. And then finally, we are also offering trainings, and trainings at different levels, as I already mentioned before. Trainings for company directors that would like to understand better this kind of technology and the impact that it can have in their factory. Managers to help them learn how can you configure an automated logistics system using our OPL technology, and also engineers, train engineers on more operational aspects that regard this kind of implementation. So if we'll take a look now at this slide again, and I will give you a couple of seconds to take a good look. These are the things that we are offering you in our open call. So you can apply by writing a proposal to one or combinations or all of them if it is required for helping in implementing your automated logistics system. All of these slides will be also uploaded later on, so you can take a look at them again with more time. I would like to show you now a couple of project examples, and please be aware that these are just 2 examples. There are many other things that you can do, but just to help you picturing what are eventual project proposals that you could submit. So one first example is addressing the planning phase. So let's suppose that at the start, so right now, you do not have an AGV solution, but you are interested in just exploring whether this is an option and whether it would really help you in improving the efficiency of your plant. So if that is your case, you could use the money of an open call for a number of things. You can use it, for example, to get support for creating an AGV solution proposal. You can also get support for creating simulations of your plant that are integrating already the AGVs. You can also get the money for helping you in getting a business plan to check whether it is really feasible for you to implement this, and also which are the long-term consequences for your factory. And then finally, we could also support you in getting funding from, for example, venture capitals for really scaling up the implementation of the system. Another example I am showing you here regards the execution phase. In this example, the starting state is different. In this case, you already have AGVs, but you're interested in seeing whether you can actually improve your system, and more importantly, whether you can make it more flexible and agile. So in that case, you could use, for example, the money of this open call to make plant simulations with integrated AGVs. You could also get it to support the attachment of your current AGVs to our OPL system. Yeah, this would require some IT development. You could also use it to test the task planning software and see whether it's and see how it manages actually the AGVs you already have in plant. You can also use it to add track and trace functionality, and you can even use it to create and test some monitoring cockpits in your factory to help you dealing with your material handling systems. Well, finally, you can, of course, think about combinations of both. So you can think on how, on projects in which planning phase and execution phase are integrated with the aim of making a logistic system that can continuously be adapted to new situations. So I hope that these examples give you an idea about what can you use the money for and the type of things that we are expecting proposals to have. So having said that, I would like to move now into the details of the open call, all right? And I'm going to do that by first giving you in one simple slide which are the main steps that you have to follow in order to set up your project proposal. So basically, there are 3 things you should do. The first thing is that you need to recognize your opportunity. So why is it handy for you to incorporate this kind of system? And why is it, more importantly, why is it handy for you to submit a proposal for the open call? And what we see is that No, excuse me. The second thing that you have to think about is the consortium that you are going to build for deploying this project. So there might be other partners that are required to be there in order to implement this. I will show them to you in a moment. And then finally, once that you have recognized the opportunity, you have created a consumption, you will have to write the proposal, as I will also describe later in this presentation. So the opportunity recognition. Well, the opportunity depends a lot on what is the type of company that you are. For example, if you are a manufacturing SME, you would be interested in this project to support the design and testing of automated logistics systems. On the other hand, if you are a system integrator, you could be interested in this project to help you in learning how to set up simulations and also in incorporating OPL as one of the systems and the solutions that you have for helping your customers. If you are an AGV manufacturer, you could be interested in OPL to have as a standard for connecting factories of your clients to different IT infrastructure of your clients. And if you are an IT provider, you could think also of this project as a nice opportunity to create new software functionality for automating logistics systems and to bring it to the market. So, depending, once that you have identified why you would like to take part in such a proposal, you have to build a consortium. And there are a couple of things important to mention here. The first one is the max funding per project is going to be 250K. And as you can see here down in the slide, yeah, 100K is the maximum per party. And you can also see that the funding will not be awarded to individual legal entities that have already received more than 100,000 euro via open calls of H2020, L4MS, and SI projects. So please be aware of that. The consortium building, it should be between 2 or 3 companies. So there should always be more than 1 company in the consortium. And the type of companies that we expect to have in such a proposal should always be one manufacturing SME in which the logistics system is going to be designed for or implemented, plus other types of partners, like, for example, a system integrator, AGV manufacturer, or maybe an IT provider that is going to write the code for attaching your current AGVs to OPL. In the consortium building, it's also important to address that the funding is going to be provided in 3 stages. The first stage is going to have a lifespan of 2 months. And as I will explain later also, a total of 3,000 euros will be provided. In the second stage, the deployment stage, which will have a duration of 6 months, the rest of the money, up to 247K, will be granted. And then during the third stage, the idea is to connect you with potential venture capitalists to find the money to upscale your projects. And then some more details about the proposal writing. There's a template that you can use for filling in the proposal. Very important also, you can get support from the L4MS project to find the right partners. So if you are an SME, you are interested in it, but you don't have a system integrator, an IT provider, or an AGV manufacturer, you can let us know, and then through a brokerage action, we'll help you in creating the right consortium, all right? And finally, you can always ask for feedback regarding your proposal. And please remember, the deadline for submitting proposals is the 30th of November. So let's go now into more details of all of the things that I have explained here. The timeline, as I mentioned you one slide before, there are 3 different phases, 3 different stages in such a project. The first stage is once that you have submitted the proposal the 30th, and you can get up to 3,000 euros to help you making it better and also providing more technical and business details to it. We'll finish it with a championship bootcamp in which also some of the projects will be selected for continuing to stage number 2. Stage number 2 is where the real deployment will happen. You will get business support, technical execution, mentoring, to make sure that the things that you have proposed in your proposal are actually also implemented in your factory. And then stage number 3 is about helping you in getting the loan, and venture capital is investment to upscale your pilot projects. All right, so open call. Let's take a look now at the eligibility criteria. So which are the restrictions that you have that held in order to get a project granted. So the first one, which I have already mentioned before, but I would like to address again, is the type of beneficiaries of this type of funding. So it should be combinations of, so in one project, there should be a combination of a manufacturing SME or a mid-cap with a system integrator or an ICT provider or a manufacturing equipment provider or a technology supplier of AGVs, or you can also have as one member of your consortium research organization, like a competence center. And when you think about a competence center, please think about, for example, a university or a digital innovation hub, which is a new kind of concept in Europe regarding organizations that support digitalization of the industry, all right? As I said also before, maximum 3 partners, and make sure that always one of the partner is an SME. Even in the case that, for example, you are a system integrator, you are writing a proposal, but you do not have a manufacturing SME as a current partner, make sure that your proposal also addresses a manufacturing SME, and then we'll help you in connecting to a manufacturing SME that fits the best the proposal that you have written, all right? So we can therefore apply in 2 different ways. You can apply with the whole consortium, in which case you would have 2 or 3 companies already known that are being part of this application, yes? Or you can also hunting an individual application, as I just mentioned a couple of seconds ago. You have a project idea, you don't have the partners that you are addressing in your proposal, you can still submit your proposal, and we will help you through a brokerage services in connecting you to other entities that are important for the proposal that you have written. Eligible countries. Well, basically, this is the same as in Horizon 2020 projects, so EU member. You can also see overseas countries and territories that are linked to the EU member states. And then finally, countries that are associated to Horizon 2020. Funding specifications. So here we will go again through some of the things I have already mentioned, but we'll show some new ones. Funding up to 250K per consortium, and then make sure that the maximum per partner is 100K. Also, be aware that funding is not going to be awarded to individual legal entities that have already received more than 100,000 euros via open calls in Horizon 2020 projects, L4MS projects, or side projects. Also, be aware that we are not asking for a separate file with a budget estimation at this moment. During the first stage, we will make sure that these kind of details are worked out in the right way. The information that we do require is the following. We would like to know which are the resources that you are planning in using, and to make sure that you can actually demonstrate that these are resources of quality and that can actually be used during the project. Consider, for example, an AGV that you already have in your plan. Yeah, so this AGV would be used as one of the resources for the pilot project. And also, please indicate, provide information about the amount of money and the support that you would like to get from this open call. Also, the type of costs that are going to be addressed in the project are basically to either personal type of cost, and then in other type of costs, you can think of travel, maybe some minor equipment, and other goods or services. Please be aware that the money cannot be spent in buying AGVs. So this is one important restriction on how to use the funding. All right. So what can't you fund? You can't fund the same cost twice. So if you have already gotten money from another type of European project, you have spent it in one specific issue, you cannot apply in this call for the same issue you have already gotten money before. And of course, costs that are not related directly to the project cannot be spent either. Other criteria that's important also considering is make sure that in your proposal you show that either it's a planning type of proposal, an execution type of proposal, that it will reduce the implementation and the overhead costs. So this is important for you to demonstrate, because it's actually one of the things that we want to showcase also to different European manufacturing companies. Make sure that the three objectives that I mentioned you in one of the slides before are also clearly aligned with your proposal. The proposal has two phases. On the one hand, and also the most important hand, it should support you as a company interested in implementing automated logistics systems, but it should also support the objectives that we have in providing this money through an open call. Be aware that only the most ambitious projects are going to be funded. We'll get many proposals. We have to select some of them, and we will do that. Well, the details are in the website. It's important for you to know that ambitious and innovative projects have better chances of getting funded. The language of the proposal has to be English, and it is mandatory for all submissions to be performed using our submission tool. So submissions should not be done via email or via the post. They should be done using the submission tool. And the link is here in this slide, all right? Okay, having provided you some of the general description of the open call, I would like now to go into a bit of more detail on what we expect you to write in your proposal. Well, the first thing is that if you want to begin, you have to go to this web page I am showing you here and click on this button, apply to the L4MS open call. Once you have done that, you will get a screen that looks a bit or exactly like this. And then you can use the button apply to start filling in your proposal, all right? Please be aware, we have also a document of frequently asked questions in which many of the main questions that you might have are addressed, and that you can always contact our help desk in order to address more specific questions that whose answers you have not found in the frequently asked question document, all right? The proposal is structured in 5 parts: excellence, impact, implementation, KPIs, and an appendix. So the excellence part should be maximum 3 pages long. So as you can see, it's not a very long document. And here you would have to explain what is the logistic challenge that you would like to address. You would have to explain how OPIL and 3D simulations can help you in solving it. You will also have to explain how will this implementation make your organization more innovative than others, and convince that you can actually produce tangible results in this project, all right? Finally, explain also how are you planning on validating the results that you might obtain, that you should obtain in this project. So this is the excellence part, maximum 3 pages. Then we have the impact part, maximum 2 pages. In the impact part, it is important that you address 2 types of impacts. One is the impact that this project will have for your company. So will, for example, you should try to explain how it helps you in creating some kind of market opportunity. Or you can also explain how this this project is going to influence the current business model that you have in place. You can also explain how it will improve your current position in the sector that you are working. And you can also address how it would improve your networking in the European Union. Then the second type of impact that you will have to address is how this project is going to affect the L4MS project. As you know, and as I mentioned before, there are three types of objectives that we are very interested in achieving through this open call. So make sure that your proposal addresses these objectives and that it aligns with our objectives. Said in other ways, that your project will also help answering the questions that we have. Implementation. So the implementation part of the proposal will have a maximum of 4 pages. And the 4 pages should address these 4 points that I have here in the slide. The first one is a working plan. So you have to provide a list of the tasks and the timing and the deliverable milestones, so typical project management type of issues, all right? You should address also what is the team, so what are the members in your project there, for example, 3 different companies, and also the people and the roles of the people that are going to actually be working in this project. The third thing that you should describe here is this, the resource distribution. So how the different partners are going to make use of the funding that is available. And then last, you should also address the exploitation of the results that you expect to get with this project. So can you, for example, collaborate with other L4MS partners, and more importantly, how can you eventually scale up the results of this project for your whole factory, or maybe for some other factories that you might have as well. Then we move to part 4, which is a very short part, yet a very important one. You should describe which are the KPIs that will be addressed with this project, and you should provide an idea about how much are each of these KPIs expected to be improved after the project has been deployed. Finally, try to explain in a couple of lines how the sum of the improvement of this KPI will actually support improving of your organization. And then we have finally the appendix, which is called transversal issues. And here you should try to describe what are other type of impacts that the project will have besides the core functionality that has been addressed before. For example, will this project have some kind of social impact? So think, for example, on the safety of your factory, or will it help reduce carbon emissions? I think that will be difficult, but anyway, you can think of that as well. Improve the environment. Well, it might be creative and think of ways it will improve your environment. The working condition of your staff. I think that there are many opportunities for writing something coherent there, and also on how it will improve the relations with your suppliers or your clients. Doesn't mean that you have to write something about all of the points that I am mentioning here, but I am providing all of these points of examples of other type of impacts that your project might have that should be included in the appendix. All right. Well, having said that, I would like to call you to action. I would like you to consider seriously filling in an application, because this is a very nice opportunity that you have for actually either changing the current automated logistics system that you have in your factory and making it more flexible, or for exploring it as an option to see whether in the future this could be an interesting type of solution that would make your factory not only more productive, but also more flexible for the type of projects that you might produce in the future. Consider the deadline is the 30th of November, so you have about 1 month to write the proposal, but also be aware that writing this proposal should not take you too much time. It's a maximum 10 pages. The whole process is online, and you can get also support from us to help you writing it and to help you clarify the doubts that you have. You can use this QR code to directly go to the submission place, where you can find all of the documentation that is detailing or how the submission process should look like. Finally, there are many participants in this project, and that means also different organizations that can support you during the implementation phase of such a project, all right? So you see that there's a lot of expertise, there's a lot of knowledge, there's also a lot of testing facilities that you would have access to by submitting a proposal. And this network will definitely also help you in the future for continuing with this type of applications. Having said that, I would like to thank you for your interest in the project, also for being here, for your time. And I would like to move now to a Q&A session. But we're going to organize the Q&A session in the following way. As there are there are about 40 participants in the meeting. What I would like to do is that people having questions to please write in the chatting window of the system, I have a question, and then I will moderate who speaks first to try to avoid having several people at the same time posing questions through the system. So who would like to start with the question? So Adam also, you can use the microphone to please pose the question to everybody so we can all hear you, and we'll try to answer it as good as possible.
Yes, Juan. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. With regards to your offering, which is quite interesting and broad, shall we assume that the cost of your support with regards to your offering is covered by the project, or shall we foresee in the proposal that we cover your costs from the open call resource funding?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. In this case, it would depend first on whether one of the members of our project is part of your consortium. Yes. If there's no okay, and on the other hand, well,
is it possible that we invite consortium members into open call consortium?
It is possible, and then consider especially competence centers and digital innovation hubs. Yet, this is an interesting question. So what I will do is that I will pose also a good answer now on the system, such that you can have also access to it. All right, but maybe this is a question in which Kasia can help me a bit better. Kasia, are you there?
I am there, but I cannot help with this one, actually.
All right.
I mean, so, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't like to, say 100% that yes, you can ask the consortium member to be your partner.
Okay. In that case, what we will do is that I will take a good look again at the rules, and I will place them on the system for the open call, such that it is very clear what the answer is to that one. All right. Very good question, by the way.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, then I would like to move to the second one, and that would be Rose. And so to see, I think somebody from the Netherlands. So tell us, what is your question, Rose?
Hi, I'm indeed from the Netherlands, so that was correct. I was wondering who is responsible for project management. Is it something that we have to do with our partners, or is it something that L4MS will provide?
No, project management of your project is something that you should do with your partners, all right?
Okay.
You can get support from us for sure, because we also want your project to be successful, but you're in charge of managing your project.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Rose. Rita, there is no audio I see from you. I wouldn't know how to address that question. So for the moment being, I will continue with Davorka. Davorka, what did you want to say?
Hello, everybody. I would like to ask what is the percentage of your contribution depending on partner type. For instance, if you have if you have a research institution, the EU contribution is 100%, and if it's SME, is it less? Or I would like to know, to say to SMEs, will they be funded 100% or less?
Yes, Cassie, I think you can help me also with this question, please. Hi, Cassia, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I have problems with my microphone. That actually depends on the project. Because the percentage of the financiation goes to the project and not necessarily to the partner that you have.
That means that the answer is that depends on the partner type, or not?
No.
But how it depends on project? I don't understand.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't depend on the partner. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, perfect. So I think that answers your question, Davorka, right?
I'm not sure I understood. Can you repeat, please?
Can you repeat, please, Cassia, again?
So the answer is no, it doesn't depend on partner type. But to make double check, let's just write it down, and we'll go back to this in when we'll be answering questions.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Then I will continue to another question by Rose. You want to share with all of us, Rose, please?
For me, it's not really clear what will be done in the second phase. So the second phase is, of course, the implementation of and integration of the visualization of how robots would work within the SME. But what would be a concrete deliverable within this phase? What should we really show you, or what should be done in order to be able to receive the money, for instance?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, you could think, for example, one deliverable as having one first simulation of your factory. Another deliverable could be, for example, so very concrete results that you might achieve, all right? Another deliverable
something that's also useful for us, but what would be something that you would receive then, or what you need to see? It's just... I where you get the profit out of the whole, we give you money and we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, well, think that the deliverables should allow us to meet our objectives. So that's the main logic, all right? So which were our objectives? We want to showcase different type of functionality, for example, yeah? So make sure that in your deliverables, you're showing different type of functionalities addressed.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you, Rose. Also very nice question. In that case, I would like to continue with Alex. Alex, can you please pose your question, comment?
Yes, well, we are a robotics company, and we are developing one product for the auditing of shelves. And we wanted to know, first of all, whether the money could be used to finalize the prototype regarding the integration to appeal, and also which type of partner should we choose? Should we choose like maybe a software developer, or maybe an end user like a supermarket or a factory?
Okay, a very nice question. I think that you should have both. As you know, the maximum number of partners is 3, all right? In this case, you would be the technology provider, and you can use the money for integrated your system to appeal. Actually, that's a very nice type of thing you can use the money for. Then you should have an SME where you're going to test your technology. And you could have an IT provider helping you writing the code, for attaching your equipment to appeal. So that could be one project proposal indeed.
Okay, and search for the partner. Where do we need to write to you? Is there an email address that we need to write to?
Well, search for the partner. If you have one partner yourself, you can just use that one. But in case that you do not know of any partner, you know, as any SME manufacturing that would like to partner with you in the project, then you let us know using the email address that is there, yeah, and then we will help you in searching for a partner for your project. But in that case, we would also need to have a small description about what you want to do, such that we can connect you to the right partner.
Okay, the email that you say is the one that it's in the email address that you send, the email that you guys sent.
Yes, it's the help desk email, but you can also write me, and I will write I will connect you with the help desk. All right.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, let's continue now. Let's see. Okay, we have Rose again with.
Sorry
what is
to interrupt. Just to make
Tell
one thing clear, do not write back to the info@fundingbox email. That's not the correct email. I was sending the reminders for you guys to attend the webinar through that email, but that's not the support email for L4MS.
Okay, I think that Casa, you can support me here the best.
Yes, it's the one on the website. It's L4MS.net at fundingbox.com. Well, definitely, if you go to the website, to our website, when you want to apply, when you read the guide for applicants, which is also very important to do before you apply, or while you apply, and there's also the email that you can contact us. It's helpdesk@l4ms.eu.
Okay. Thank you, Carter. And now I would like to move, if that's okay with you, Rose, to your next question, which is also a very nice question. And maybe you would like to tell your question to everybody here in the webinar.
I saw on one of your slides where you were explaining about the Opel platform that there is already a planning algorithm within the platform. However, we created our own planning algorithm to use on our robots. I was wondering if it's possible to integrate that within the Opel platform.
I would say initially, yes. Yeah, but it depends, of course, to a certain extent on some technical details, but I would say yes. And I think that you could actually also part use of the funding for implementing that, because that is the idea. As you see, one of the type of partners that I mentioned were IT providers, all right? Yes. And that one of the idea was to have in Opel, because it's an open platform, to have a different type of software that to manage different type of functionality. So in my opinion, it shouldn't be an issue to have your planning software being integrated in Opel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. In that case, I would like now to move to Adam. So Adam's question is, what do you mean by explain how you will validate your project in the excellence part of the description? So what we mean by this is, for example, are you going to make a small test, yeah, with the current AGV that you have for showing, let's say, how it works? Are you going to validate it or using some simulations that are really addressing all of the characteristics of your factory? So how can you demonstrate that you have developed actually it works as it was developed? I hope that answers your question, Adam. Otherwise, please let me know.
Yes, you have answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I would like to continue with Tomislav. Tomislav, would you like to tell us what the question?
Okay, my question is, are only projects which are related to AGVs acceptable?
Very nice question, because yes, we are targeting AGVs. We're really targeting AGVs. Of course, as you saw also, we are also targeting monitoring, yeah, to be used in logistic scenarios, and also track and trace functionality. So in case it is not an AGV, but you can demonstrate that it is related to track and trace, to monitoring related to logistic system, and that by doing so, you will enhance the level of automation of your logistics system, then you make a chance. Be aware only that if there are many projects that are really dealing with AGVs, then then you have to think about something very innovative that can compensate for the fact that AGVs are not in your project. All right. So I don't want to discourage you, but I just want to make sure that you are aware that not incorporating AGVs has to be compensated with some kind of added functionality. You know, that's also very important to take a look at here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then I see that Adam has another question. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Can a US-based manufacturing SME participate? Cassia, can you help me with that one?
Yes, of course, I can help you with this one. That's a very tricky question. Yes, it can participate, but the main party that will receive the funding has to be in Europe. It has to be established in Europe. So if it's an US-based SME, it has to move or establish its office in Europe before they get an agreement.
So, Adam, is that kind of clear?
Yes. So then the applicant is actually the European office of that company, right?
Right. Because only European, it's a European funding, so it has to be European SME.
Okay, thank you.
And also, US is quite a rich country, so in this case, it definitely has to be in Europe.
Okay, then I will move with Christina's question, which is a very good question. She doesn't have a microphone, so I will read it. And she is asking whether it is mandatory that the consortium is international. And my answer is no. The consortium can be very regional. I think that in some cases that can actually be an advantage. So it does. The consortium does not have to address several European countries. Then I will move to the following one, Anastasia. Anastasia, rather than coming with a question, she's providing.
No, yes, I was helping to answer the questions I saw in the chat because I didn't know if you were looking at them.
Well, not by then, but yes, now.
Yes,
So,
okay. Yes.
Okay. So Roberto also has a question. Please tell us, Roberto, what is your question?
Yes, I was wondering because we are an SME that manufactures hydraulic systems, so we don't really have any AGVs. But at some point, we did develop some kind of like a trolley, motorized trolley that you move with pushing a button or such. It moves up and down, and it's basically used for, let's say, carrying materials from one place to another or sub-assemblies from one place to another. But it's very simple. I'm just wondering if this project could be used, or do you think that the purview of this project would qualify, this trolley would qualify, let's say, to update it so that it's more automated?
Well, it depends on what you mean by updated. If it is updating the hardware of it, then the answer would be no. But if it is updating software-wise, to connect it to a bill and to integrate it with your factory logistics, then my preliminary answer would be yes.
Okay.
But of course, you would have to have more details in order to answer that question more accurately. All right. Okay.
Thanks. No, that's answers my question well enough. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think Roberto's question was the last question. No, that's not so. Adam has another question. So, Adam, tell us.
Yes, we are planning to integrate with Opil. So far, we have been looking at the components, and it looks like the fiber middleware layer is most attractive for us. So I was wondering if integration with the middleware components is satisfactory, or should, and the second question related to that, do we need to do real-time data acquisition? Because the like idea of the software we are thinking about is not real-time. So I was wondering if that's acceptable.
Okay, interesting question. Anastasia, could you support me with this answer, please?
Can you repeat it? I didn't hear follow this. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so let's divide this into two questions. First question, is it enough to integrate with Appeal middleware layer only?
Yes, I think it should be. It is good to see as many components as possible, but I think, yes, it could be enough to have only the middleware.
Okay,
I
thank you.
see it as a key component. But
Yes.
you have to consider, I mean, in the evaluation to make you will be competing with others. Actually, this will be evaluated by externals as well. So if the others use more and show the reusability, you know, maybe this is less competitive than others who can demonstrate more value of Appeal itself. You understand what I mean? Eh?
Yes, I see. But the case is we have our own visualization part, so it would be kind of artificial if we try to integrate.
Yes, yes, I understand.
And the
So
second.
I want to answer basically to make sure so there is no limitation at the moment to say one or two components, but the impact will be an issue. So the proposal which has bigger impact in terms of reusability, of facilitation of Appeal in the task and all that, this will be the winning. So you have to balance that from this I could consult.
Okay. And the second question is about real time, because we are going to use Appeal for data acquisition, but not in real time. Is this acceptable?
But how are you going to demonstrate? I mean, we would like to see a demonstrator working. In a lab condition is okay, but it should be working. If it can work without real time sending data, you can demonstrate the whole case. It's up to you, but the requirement is to at the end to develop a demonstrator.
Yes, so we will demonstrate in the demonstration facility in the SME, but the demonstrator will gather data and then optimize the routes in certain point of time. So you will not see the data flows as they are gathered, but you will see the final optimization of after the data has been gathered. So it's not real time, so you don't see how it happens. You only see the final results, right?
Anastasia, what do you think?
Sorry. Okay. I think it is, again, it's up to you to, I cannot say now without knowing all the details. So again, you have to consider that everything will be evaluated. So if it is convincing that the demonstrator doesn't have real data, it is for, if you think it is convincing for the evaluators that it can work, I mean, this is the criteria, I think. Now I don't know what data and what real time means for this use case that you have in mind, but you have to consider if it is convincing at the end that you implemented the task. So in principle, it can work, but...
Yes. Yes, okay. I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. So let's see if there's any other question here. I don't see any other question being posed on the system. I don't know if somebody would like to speak out one more question then before we finish this webinar session. Okay, I don't see anybody answering my question, so I think that we are approaching the end of this webinar. Again, I would like to thank you for participating. Oh no, we have one more question. Rita Riosa, could you please repeat the answer about project management? Yes, the answer about project management is that you as a consortium are responsible for project management. So that is the answer.
Hi, I just wanted to add that next month we will do a Q&A session. We will send you an email to inform you about that. So in case you missed any questions here, or you start working on the application form and know a bit more about L4MS Open Call and you have some questions, you can write them to the email we said before. I think it was helpdesk@l4ms.eu, or you can save those questions for the Q&A session that we will do in November. That's it.
All right. So basically,
and also, just one more thing, we have recorded this webinar and I will send you an email now, so you will have access to the video in case you want to rewatch it, or you miss something and you want to watch it again. You will have the video of the session.
thank you, Kasia. And I would like to add to that this afternoon we are going to record each one of the parts of this presentation also partly, meaning that you can always take a look at some specific part in one specific video, and there we will try to provide a bit more of details than the ones that we have provided during the webinar. All right, so I think we have approached the end of this webinar. Thank you again for all the attendees. We hope that we will get many submissions from all of you. And remember that you can always contact us if you have any question, because we are also interested, and it is also in our interest to have your proposals being of the right quality, all right? So I wish you a very nice day. And who knows, maybe we'll see each other or hear each other in another webinar.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.